Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिकान्ता राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तु तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे राम राम हरे हरे नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयं मुदीरयेत् शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्णा पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तना रिधि अन्तस्थभद्राणि विधुनोति सुरत्सतां नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी जय Reading from Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita, Chapter 30, London, A Dream Fulfilled. That was one great trick that was played by Krishna, Prabhupada said. Similarly, this is a great trick. He told how Krishna had also tricked Mother Yashoda. When she had tried to discipline Krishna, he had run away and she had run after him, caught him, and tried to tie him with ropes. But every time she came with more rope, Prabhupada said, it was just a little top shot. Krishna can play any kind of trick. Another such trick has been played. They made so much effort to bring these deities here, thinking they will be for their Hindu center, but all the time Krishna wanted to come here. So this chip on the deity's hand is just Krishna's trick, and we have caught them. Prabhupada, Mukund said, you kidnapped Krishna. Yes, Prabhupada said. Once I was in the bank and the manager had some scheme, but I foiled his scheme. So he said to me, Mr. Day, you should have been a politician. Prabhupada laughed. Then he became grave and asked the devotees not to talk about the incident. Many people would not understand how he could install a chipped deity. The devotees agreed to keep the secret, but they had no doubt that Prabhupada's love for Krishna was transcendental to Hindu customs. Radha and Krishna had come to London on Prabhupada's desire. How do you dress big deities like this? Yamuna asked. They already have clothes on. Prabhupada said, you bring me some cloth. What kind of cloth, Prabhupada? What should the clothes look like? Like in the pictures, he replied. Well, there are so many different pictures, she said. Sometimes Krishna has a ruffled skirt on, and sometimes he has a dhoti on, and sometimes he has a big crown on. Krishna looks very beautiful in saffron, Prabhupada said. So you bring me some silk dhotis in yellow and saffron color. Yamuna collected 6 silk saris with silver and gold borders, and Prabhupada indicated the design he wanted and told Yamuna how to arrange the crowns. With only a few days remaining before the installation ceremony, Yamuna began working almost continuously at her sewing machine. Several times a day, Prabhupada would come to see her progress. Shyamasundar had completed most of the altar except for Lord Jagannath's altar and the canopy over Radha and Krishna's throne. Both the canopy and Lord Jagannath's altar would be supported by 4 heavy wooden columns more than 6 feet high. 2 rear columns would hold a marble slab for the Jagannath deities to stand on, and 2 front columns were now supporting Radha and Krishna's large velvet canopy. The columns were big and heavy. Shamsundar called them elephant leg columns. The columns now stood in place on the altar, although Shamsundar hadn't had a chance to secure them. The day before the installation, Shamasundar collapsed upstairs in exhaustion. Jai Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita ki Jai. This is very difficult, Prabhuji's. Whoever is asking, or whoever has requested this Prabhupada Lilamrita, it is so difficult to stop or, to understand where to stop to, because once you start reading, you just can't stop. I hope I'm able to explain myself, but such an interesting um, place. And I didn't, when I copy pasted, I didn't notice because I didn't read. I just copy pasted the paragraphs. And I just thought, okay, 4 pages is enough. And now I'm thinking, oh, what happened to Shyam Sundar Prabhuji? I should have written more, but we will hear tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. राजन्पतिर्गुरुमलं भवतां यदूनां दैवं प्रियकुलपति क्व च किङ्करो वा अस्त्वेवमङ्ग भगवान् भजतां मुकुन्दो मुक्तिं ददाति करहिचित् स्मन भक्तियोगम् राजन्पतिर्गुरुनलं भवतां यदूनां देवं प्रियं कुलपति क्व च किङ्करो वा अस्त्वेवमङ्ग भगवान् भजतां मुकुन्दो मुक्तिं ददाति करहिचित् स्म न भक्तियोगम् राजन्पतिर्गुरुमलं भवतां यदूनां दैवं प्रियकुलपति क्व च किङ्करो वा अस्त्वेवमङ्ग भगवान् भजतां मुकुन्दो मुक्तिं ददाति करहिचित् स्म न भक्तियोगम् Hare Krishna. Would anyone like to recite the verse?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Pranam, Prabhuji.
Rajanpatirgururalam bhagavatam jadunam Daivam priyaya kulapati kacha kinkaro va astu evamanga bhagavan bhajatam mukunda muktim dadati karchit smana bhakti yogam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Rajampatiर्गुरुरलं भवतां यदूनां दैवं प्रियः कुलपति कच किङ्करो वा अस्तएवम् अङ्गं भगवान् भजतां मुकुन्दो मुक्तिं ददाति कर्हिचित् स्म न भक्तियोगम्. हरे कृष्ण.
हरे कृष्ण माताजी.
Dandavat Pranam.
धन्यवाद प्रणाम. राजन्पतिर्गुरुरलं भगवतां यदूनां दैवं प्रियः कुलपतिः क्वाच किङ्करवः अस्त्यैवमङ्ग भगवान् भजतां मुकुन्दो मुक्तिं ददाति कर्हिचित् स्म न भक्तियोगम्. हरे कृष्ण.
Jai.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Carry on.
Oh, no,
Go
no.
ahead, Mata. Go ahead.
Anyone would
Hare
like?
Krishna.
Please. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Mataji.
Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Pranam.
राजन्पतिर्गुरुरलं भवतामय यदूनां दैवं प्रियाकुलपति क्व च किङ्करो वा अस्त्वएवम् अङ्ग भगवान् भजतां मुकुन्दो मुक्तिं दधाति करहि चित समना भक्ति योगम। थैंक यू माता जी। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण माता जी, धन्यवाद प्रणाम।
Danvat
रावल
Pranam.
देव राजन पतिर्गुरुरलं भगवतं यदूनां दैवीं प्रिय कुलपति केवच किंकरो वा अस्तु एवं अंग भगवान भजाति मुकुंदो मुक्तिं ददाति करहि चित्स्मना भक्ति योगानाम। हरे कृष्णा।
Danvat Pranam. Thank you, Prabhuji. Synonyms: Rajan, O my dear king; Pati, maintainer; Guru, spiritual master; Alam, certainly; Bhavatam, of you; Yadunam, the Yadu dynasty; Daivam, the worshipable deity; Priya, very dear friend; Kulapati, the master of the dynasty; Kvacha, sometimes even; Kinkara, servant; Va, of you; the Pandavas; Astu, to be sure; Evam, thus; Anga, O king; Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead; Bhajatam, of those devotees engaged in service; Mukundaha, the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead; Muktim, liberation; Dadati, delivers; Karhichit, at any time; Sma, indeed; Na, not; Bhakti Yogam, loving devotional service. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sukhdev Goswami continued, My dear king, the Supreme Person Mukunda is actually the maintainer of all the members of the Pandava and Yadu dynasties. He is your spiritual master, worshipable deity, friend, and the director of your activities. To say nothing of this, he sometimes serves your family as a messenger or servant. This means he worked just as ordinary servants do. Those engaged in getting the Lord's favor attain liberation from the Lord very easily, but he does not very easily give the opportunity to render direct service unto him. Purport: while instructing Maharaj Parikshit, Sukhdev Goswami thought it wise to encourage the king because the king might be thinking of the glorious position of various royal dynasties. Especially glorious is the dynasty of Priyavrat, in which the Supreme Lord Rishabdev incarnated. Similarly, the family of Uttanpad Maharaj, the father of Maharaj Dhruva, is also glorious due to King Prithu's taking birth in it. The dynasty of Maharaj Raghu is glorified because Lord Ramachandra appeared in that family. As far as the Yadu and Kuru dynasties are concerned, they existed simultaneously. But of the two, the Yadu dynasty was more glorious due to the appearance of Lord Krishna. Maharaj Parikshit might have been thinking that the Kuru dynasty was not as fortunate as the others because the Supreme Lord did not appear in that family, neither as Krishna, Lord Ramchandra, Lord Rishabdev, or Maharaj Prithu. Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj was encouraged by Sukdev Goswami in this particular verse. The Kuru dynasty may be considered more glorious due to the presence of devotees like the five Pandavas who rendered unalloyed devotional service. Although Lord Krishna did not appear in the Kuru dynasty, he was so obligated to the Pandavas' devotional service that he acted as a maintainer of the family and spiritual master of the Pandavas. Although he took birth in the Yadu dynasty, Lord Krishna was more affectionate to the Pandavas. By his actions, Lord Krishna proved that he was more inclined to the Kuru dynasty than the Yadu dynasty. Indeed, Lord Krishna, indebted to the Pandavas' devotional service, sometimes acted as their messenger, and he guided them through many dangerous situations. Therefore, Maharaj Parikshit should not have been saddened because Lord Krishna did not appear in his family. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is always inclined toward his pure devotees, and by his action, it is clear that liberation is not very important for the devotees. Lord Krishna easily gives one liberation, but he does not so easily give the facility to become a devotee. Muktim dadati karhichet smana bhakti yogam. Directly or indirectly, it is proof that bhakti yoga is the basis for the supreme relationship with the Supreme Lord. It is far superior to liberation for a pure devotee of the Lord. Mukti is automatically attained. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. Welcome to Srimad Bhagavata morning discussion. We are reading from chapter 6, the activities of Lord Rishabdev. This chapter starts with a question by Parikshit Maharaj to Sukhdev Goswami that why Rishabdev didn't display the mystic powers, though he knew he was a master of them. So Sukhdev Goswami tells that sometimes displaying the mystic powers can be a distraction of mind, and a spiritual seeker should be very careful of mind. That's what Lord Rishabdev wanted us to understand, and that's why he didn't display the mystic powers. Further, Sukhdev Goswami narrates how Lord Rishabdev was the head of all kings and empowers with and he was the king and emperors of the whole within this universe. He was on that position, but he assumed the dress and behavior of an avadhuta. Right? He acted as if he's dull and materially bound. Consequently, no one could observe his divine opulence, but he adopted this behavior, however, just to teach the yogis how to give up the body. In the forest fire in South India, Kutakachal, the body of Lord Rishabdev was burnt to ashes in that fire. And also in that forest fire, there were a lot of animals also, and they were also burnt. But they all got liberation because of the presence of Lord Rishabdev. So further moving, Sukhdev Goswami also mentioned about King Arhat in future, how he will come and he will imitate Lord Rishabdev's Avadhut style, and he will misdirect the individuals, and also he will take up that style of Dhuta style, but he will not be taking up the instructions of Rishabdev, which is the gist of his appearance. He wanted anyone in this material world and everyone to take up on his instructions, as mentioned in chapter 5. So Bharatvarsh, Sukhdev Goswami also mentioned that Bharatvarsh has become very glorious just because Lord Rishabdev was born there. And also he mentioned then that the dynasty of Priyavrat Maharaj also became very glorious because of Lord Rishabdev's birth there. Further, I think in 16th verse, he talks about the Falashruti of this chapter, where he mentions that whoever reads the life and teachings of Rishabdev, pure devotional service would be guaranteed to that person. And also in 17th verse, which was yesterday, he mentioned that, however, devotees are always after liberation, devotional service and not liberation. Right, so he actually concluded the chapter. He has concluded the chapter in the verse 16th and 17th. But then when he was concluding the chapter, he noticed that Parikshit Maharaj is a bit disappointed or sad, disheartened. So to console Parikshit Maharaj, this verse was spoken. Such a beautiful verse. Rajan patir guru malam bhavatam yadunam devam priya kulapati kvachaking karova astveva manga bhagavan bhajatam mukundo muktim dadati karhichit smana bhakti yogam. So this verse was spoken, very beautiful verse, and Srila Prabhupada has quoted the last line many times in his lectures, in his letters. So let's see what the transcendental purport of Srila Prabhupada gives us. So the first point from transcendental purport of Srila Prabhupada is, of course, the last line of the verse. Liberation is attained very easily. However, bhakti is very difficult to attain. Muktim dadati karhichit smana bhakti yogam. So in yesterday's class, we understood a little bit about liberation. So generally, normally, liberation is described as freedom from material existence and threefold miseries. Every moment in this material world, there's some or the other misery happening. And to everyone, not just to few people, but to everyone, there's this, they are having to bear these miseries in this material world. So they think that liberation is, just to get free from this material existence, birth, death, the cycle of birth and death, and the threefold miseries. However, we'll try to understand how liberation is, as in the previous verse also mentioned that liberation, devotees are not after liberation. Devotees already have liberation. And here also, again, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that devotees are not after liberation. Okay. See, we'll try to understand from this story. There was a boy who was playing in the garden with the father. Okay, this is in India, and this is a true story, by the way. And suddenly, there was these riots which started happening. There are too many. In India, sometimes, these riots just pop out all of a sudden, right? And it got too intense. And then the police came, they were trying to handle the riots, and it was too much violence. And the boy got very scared, and he started crying, he started hiding and crying. And he didn't know what to do. Suddenly the boy felt someone pick him up, and he looked back, and he saw that it was his father. The father picked him up from back, and then the father somehow maneuvered between the crowd and the riot and the police. And the police, as he was moving, police gave him way and showed respect, like through nodded at him and let him go. And he took his son in a police car, and he went home, took his son to safety, home to safety. Now, the boy, because he was very scared with this, it left an impression on his mind. And as soon as he reached home, he went to his mom and told the whole story. And he thought, who is my father? Like, how these policemen, gave so much respect, and they were just making way, and they let me and father go, because the policemen were, throwing this tear gas, and they were trying to do lathi charge on the others. But how did he knew that I'm not one of them, and father is not one of them? So the mother smiled and said that, of course, your father is the chief of police. That's why they recognized him, and they let you out safely and cooperated. This is the position of a devotee. In this story, the son was the chief of police. We are the part and parcels of the Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead. As long as we have, personal relationship with the Lord, we will always be safe. We are already safe, actually. As I was mentioning, that there is material miseries everywhere in this world, but we are always safe as long as we have a relationship with the Lord. We have devotional service. We are always safe. Why? Because again, if we refer back to the purport of Srila Prabhupada from previous verse, Srila Prabhupada mentions liberation as being situated in one's constitutional position. And what is one's constitutional position? That I am the servant of Lord. So when a devotee, when a person takes up devotional service, he becomes a devotee. He knows his constitutional position. So he's already in the state of mukti, right? He's already liberated. So why will he hanker for something which he already has? He hanker for something which he doesn't have. Normally, that's generally, materially, if we try to understand, we hanker for things which we don't have. A devotee always is liberated. He doesn't need that. I think it was His Holiness Devamrita Maharaj said, back to Godhead is consciousness. So the devotee's consciousness is always liberated. Okay. However, a devotee hankers after bhakti, devotional service. Why? Why does devotee hanker after devotional service? Recently, we saw Prahlad Maharaj, Nashingadev's appearance day, actually, Nashingadev's appearance day, and Prahlad Maharaj prayers. Prahlad Maharaj mentions, मन्ये धनाभिजनरूपतपाश्रुतोजस्तेजस् प्रभावबलपौरुषबुद्धियोगा नाराधनाय हि भवन्ति परस्य पुंसो भक्त्या तुतोष भगवान् गजयूथपाया. So this is our Prahlad Maharaj. What is he saying? That whatever a person might possess, dhana, bhijana, rupa, tapa, like wealth, he might be from a very great family, he might be very beautiful, or he might have very nice education, austerity, luster, influence, physical strength, whatever. Naradhanaya hi bhavanti parasya pumso. But the Lord is not, what these things cannot satisfy the Lord. What can satisfy the Lord? Bhaktya tutosha Bhagavan. He said, only the Lord is satisfied by devotional service. Bhaktya tutosha. Otherwise, how come an animal like Gajendra could satisfy the Lord? Right? Bhagavan himself says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti uparatam. Ashnami prayatatmana bhakti uparatam. One who gives all these things, because he says this verse and then he says the next word, Yat karoshi ya dashnasi ya juhosi. So he's saying this verse first, and then he's saying, okay, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever tapasya do that as an offering to me. But before that, he's giving you some things like Patram pushpam phalam toyam. If you leaf, flower, fruit, and water. Okay, these 4 things also I will accept. I can accept just these 4 things. But there's one condition in this one where he says bhaktya. It should be out of devotion. If it is out of devotion, these 4 things I'll accept, I'll be satisfied. But until then, devotees who don't have devotion, yat karoshi yadashnashi, yat johosida, do everything and offer it to me as an offering. Right? So devotees are after devotional service because Lord is happy. Lord becomes pleased and satisfied with devotional service. Right? Um, Now, why Lord doesn't give? Lord gives liberation easily. Whoever wants this liberation from material existence, Lord will give. But why not bhakti? It is in 9th canto, very famous pastime of Ambrish Maharaj. What does the Lord says here? श्रीभगवानुवाच अहं भक्तापराधीनो ह्यस्वन्तन्त्रैव द्विजा साधुभिर्भ्रस्तहृदयो भक्तेर्भक्तजनप्रिया. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said to the Brahmanas, I am completely under the control of devotees, of my devotees. Indeed, I am not at all independent because my devotees are completely devoid of material desires. I sit only within the course of their hearts. What to speak of my devotee? Even those who are devotees of my devotees are very dear to me. Right? What is he saying? Sadhubhir grasta hridayo. There's this thing they have just completely, attacked and tied my heart. I cannot get free. Even if I try, I cannot get free. Aham bhakta paratino. Krishna says that. So when the Lord knows the power of the hold of his devotees on him, don't you think he's right in being a bit more careful in granting devotional service to anyone? You know, if Sita Mataji from Hamilton would say, I want devotional service, Krishna, I want devotional service, Krishna will say, okay, go, give in devotional service. And Sita Mataji will go in Golok Lok and create havoc because she doesn't know the principles of devotional service, how to execute in the assembly of devotees, how to execute those principles nicely in assembly of devotees. So what will happen then? Chaos, which is never ever it cannot happen in Golok at all. So the Lord has to think many times before giving bhakti to anyone, right? And we will see now in this verse only. This verse is epitome of where what happens when someone is a pure devotee. What does Lord do? How is that powerful rope of bhakti, where Krishna himself says sadhubhir grasta hridayo, right? We look at the next point from purport, which is this purport. Srila Prabhupada glorified Bhakti Yoga. He said, Kuru dynasty is more glorious due to Pandavas, Lord's pure devotees, he's saying, right? Now we are talking about why devotees want Bhakti only and how Lord is fully under the power of devotees. So, how much service Lord has done for the Pandavas? What does Aham Bhakta Paradhino, what does that mean, right? Devam, in this verse, the second line, I think, Devam Priya Kulapate Kvacha Kinkarova. That line is mentioned. What has Lord done for them? There is similar verse. I found a similar verse in 16th canto. So first canto, 16th chapter. The verse is when about Parikshit Maharaj. When he's going out, he's hearing these uh, beautiful things about his ancestors. What does it say? Sarathya Parshada Sevana Sakhya Dotya Virasananu Pranaman Snigdeshu Pandushu Jagat Pranatim Cha Vishnur Bhaktim Karoti Narpatis Charanara. Maharaj Parikshit heard that out of his causeless mercy, Lord Krishna, Vishnu, who is universally obeyed, rendered all kinds of service to the malleable sons of Pandu by accepting posts ranging from chariot driver to president to messenger, friend, knight, watchman, etc., according to the will of the Pandavas, obeying them like a servant and offering obeisances like one younger in years. When he heard this, Maharaj Parikshit became overwhelmed with devotion to the lotus feet of the Lord. This is very, very similar verse, right? But what is very important, and I'm just going off topic here, but the purport of this verse is very interesting. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that Maharaj Parikshit, as a pure devotee of the Lord, could appreciate the Lord's transcendental reciprocation of the feelings of his devotees, and thus he himself also was overwhelmed with the dealings of the Lord. Simply by appreciating the dealings of the Lord with his pure devotees, one can attain salvation. See, why I find this very interesting, because we are talking about Pandavas who are pure devotees, but what about us? So if we simply by appreciating the dealings of the Lord with his pure devotees, one can attain salvation. We feel immense happiness in these classes, right? And conversing about Lord with each other. Yesterday in the class, His Grace Vrindavan Madhurya Prabhuji and His Grace Abhaycharan Prabhuji mentioned that how all the regulations are followed naturally by a devotee. They are happily performed. There's no restrictions. They don't consider it as restriction, because they get much greater happiness out of it. Forget about restrictions. When we sit and discuss Lord's name, form, pastimes, we don't know how the time flows. Right? Machita Madgata Prana, Bodhayanta Parasparam. So Bhakti Yoga is a sukham process. I felt this very interesting in the purport when I was referring to the verse. So just thought how this purport linked to yesterday's class, and hence mentioned it. Now coming back to topic. So Pandavas are pure devotees of the Lord. Now let's see how Lord behaved with them. And we are just taking, see, we can go on and on and on about these pastimes which Lord has done with Pandavas, but we'll just take one couple of scenarios. So this is the Rajsuya Yagya, where Lord Krishna was being worshipped as Agra. The Agra Puja was done of worship. And the first person, the highest person who needs to be worshipped, it was decided that it would be Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna is sitting on the Singhasan, and Narad Muni is instructing Yudhishthira Maharaj, pointing at him, right? So he describes everything about Lord, how Lord he's so powerful and all, and Yudhishthir, the whole Prahlad, Narsingha pastimes and everything was discussed in this, where Lord Krishna was being worshipped as the ultimate source and the highest personality on earth at that time. The same personality, Krishna, in the Rajsuya Yagya, was also doing one menial service, which was washing the feet of all of the Pandavas' guests, Yudhishthira Maharaj's guest who came. He took up personally that service. Sahastra Lakshmi is washing and serving the feet of that Lord, that our dear Lord took up the seva of washing feet of Pandavas' guest, of the very same assembly where he was worshipped as the ultimate supreme. He also became, during this Ratsuya Yagya, he became Bard. Bard, a person who goes and glorifies the king. In older times, there used to be a group of people who would go and glorify the activities of the king. Whenever, if the king is moving, they would be, in front of the king, and they'll be glorifying the king in poetic way. Lord Krishna used to go out and glorify Yudhishthira Maharaj with all the other bards during the Ratsuya Yagya procession. Can you imagine? Imagine what position our Lord is taking while dealing with his pure devotees. Krishna became, of course, we all know, the chariot driver of Arjuna. Right? The moment when Arjuna and Duryodhan was given the choice to choose Lord and Ratsuya and the Narayani Sena, the decision of Arjun touched Lord Krishna so much, so much. In some places, our Acharya says that Lord Krishna decided then only that he gave a boon to Arjuna, that you will never be defeated. Because Yudhishthira Maharaj sent Arjun to get the Narayani Sena. He didn't send Arjun to, choose between one, because at that time there was no choice. They just thought that Krishna will, he just said that go to Lord and just request that you and Narayani Sena, please come with us on our side. But they didn't knew that Duryodhan would also come and ask. So then they have to choose, right? So Bali Maharaj, anyways, we will not talk about other devotees here, but there are so many. We all know Brajvasis, Bali Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj. There are so many pure devotees, and we all know Lord has done so much for them, right? There is this another story. On the 7th day of the war, the Pandavas, particularly Bhima and Arjun, they inflicted significant damage to the Kuru army. Duryodhan was beaten down, left, right, center. He was bloody, and when he was fighting with Bhima, so when um, after the war, he went to the tent of his close friend Karna and he vented out his frustration. And Karna said that, "Oh, I could have killed them just if you give me the chance, but Bhishma Dev would not allow me to, fight the war." So then Duryodhan went to Bhishma Dev, and Bhishma Dev, when he saw, whatever, Bhishma Dev was very, very, very compassionate towards all his grandchilds. So when he saw Duryodhan came with all the wounds on him, he started cleaning Duryodhan and he put some herbs. And then Duryodhan was so angry. Duryodhan said that, Bhishma Pitama. And see, this is the Asuri Pravarti, right? Duryodhan is putting herbs on his wounds, and this Bhishma Dev is putting wounds on the Bhishma Dev is putting herbs on the wounds of Duryodhan, and Duryodhan instead started chastising Bhishma Dev. What are you doing? You don't know. You are being very soft with the Pandavas, and he chastised Bhishma like anything. And then Bhishma Dev took a vow that, okay, fine. He took 5 arrows from his Gandiva, from his the quer, and he said that I am going to do the mantra meditation on them, kind of, the older, the weapon mantra. And somehow he did. And he said, now these 5 arrows will kill Pandavas tomorrow. When he said that, Duryodhan became very pleased. And then what he said, Duryodhan said, please give me these 5 arrows. Bhishma said, why? He said, I don't trust you. I want to safeguard these 5. What if, Pandavas will come to you, or, you change your mind and you throw them away? What will happen then? Give me these, please. So Bhishma said, okay, fine. He took, right? Now, when this is happening, back in Pandavas' camp, Krishna, Sarvasya Chaham Riddhi Sannivishto, I am in everyone's heart. So what happened? Krishna, knowing that, asked Arjuna to go to Duryodhan's tent and ask him for 5 arrows. Arjuna said, which 5 arrows? Krishna said, you just go and ask him the 5 arrows which Bhishma has given to you. Arjuna said, but why do you want? I have so many arrows. They never got. Krishna was, what I'm saying, you just go and do that. Arjuna said, okay. Right? And I'm just making it dramatic, okay? But actually, Arjuna he will question Krishna, but in a very respectful way. And we all know in how he has been questioning in Bhagavad Gita, right? So Arjuna went to Duryodhan's camp and reminded him. Actually, he went and asked Duryodhan, can I have the 5 arrows? And Duryodhan was like, no, you can't. By the way, who told you about those 5 arrows? And he said, see, who told me is not important. You have to give those 5 arrows to me, because there was a time when I saved you from the Gandharvas and you gave me a boon. So you have to give me, because in his mind, he was like, oh, Krishna has asked me to bring them. So this is my service. I have to take those 5 arrows to him. And Duryodhan then became shocked. He was like, okay, I'll have to give you then, if that's the case, if you're reminding me about the boon. And Duryodhan, very brokenheartedly, he gave those 5 arrows to Arjuna. Next day, Bhishma asked Arjuna about 5 arrows. Bhishma asked Duryodhan about the 5 arrows. Duryodhan told the whole story to Bhishma, and Bhishma understood. Who else then the Lord can do this, right? He understood that. And there was one time, again, due to Duryodhan's chastisement, Bhishma was ferocious in his attacks on Arjuna. Oh, and Arjuna got so stressed. And he has never seen Bhishma Dev in that avatar where he was so ferocious in his attacks. A bead of perspiration formed on his forehead. And Lord just happened to look at the same time to Arjuna, and he saw that bead of perspiration on Arjuna's head. Lord, just looking at that one bead of perspiration, our Acharya says, Lord became so angry on Bhishma Dev, so angry. He just jumped out of the chariot, picked up from a nearby, broken chariot, the chariot wheel, and charged towards Bhishma. And as soon as Krishna jumped, Arjuna also understood that he's trying to do that. Arjuna also jumped, and Arjuna hold the leg of Krishna, and Krishna is dragging Arjuna with him. He was so powerful, of course, and also he was so ferocious at Bhishma. Right? Arjuna reminded that please, do not, please don't do that. I'll make sure that I'll fight to my best of my ability. I'll not get stressed anymore. I'll fight to my best of my ability. Do not break your promise of not using weapon in the war. Of course, there was other side of it where Bhishma Dev had a promise, had a vow that today I'll make sure that Krishna pick up weapon, and he breaks his promise. So there was other side of the story as well. But so nicely, Krishna is so loving towards the Pandavas. He can't see anything happening to the Pandavas, not even one scratch, right? That's why muktim dadati karhachiti, right? Karhichit na bhakti yogam. So he'll give mukti, but not bhakti yogam, because Lord behaves like this with his pure devotees, right? How Lord served Pandavas time and again. There was one time, and when Arjun took the vow to kill Jayadratha after Abhimanyu's death, after his son's Abhimanyu's death, and Krishna was actually guarding Arjuna's tent whole night, because he thought that maybe Duryodhan's army, one of from Duryodhan's army might come and attack Arjuna, kill him, right? So Pandavas slept, but Krishna never slept. So during the end of the war, when Yudhishthir was taken to Bhishma Dev to console and give advice, Bhishma Dev mentions that to the Pandavas, to Yudhishthir. He said that, Esa vai Bhagwan Sakshat. He says, this person standing right in front of you, he is Bhagwan Sakshat. He was with you. He also says that, Yam manyase matuleyam, priyam mitram suhratam. Just because of his, causeless mercy, he performs all the kind of service to you as a, to you devotees. Out of his mercy, he is giving all these services to you. But Yudhishthira, do not, misunderstand the position of the Lord. He says, he is the absolute truth. Right? Just imagine there's a huge mountain, and on the foothill of the mountain, bottom, there is Garuda sitting, and at the top of the hill, there is a bird, small bird sitting. Whatever happens, the bird is sitting at the top of the mountain. That doesn't change the position of Garuda. Garuda will still remain the biggest and the most powerful bird. Similarly, Lord acts like servants to his devotees. But we as sadhaka should always know his actual position, should remember his actual position. Because we all are practicing sadhana bhakti. We haven't reached, we are still in the process of abhideya. We haven't reached prayojan yet, which is prema bhakti. So till then, we should remember Lord's actual position as well, every single minute. Right? So this is our Lord, who is completely, utterly, and lovingly surrendered to his pure devotees. He would do anything for his devotees. And Shastras are filled with such examples. Right. And Pandava's examples, there are so many examples, but we don't have time, so I can't discuss more. But I'm sure you all would know many different stories too. Now, there's one last point I want to mention from the purport, from this verse. You know how when His Grace Gaurang Darshan Prabhuji came, he said that we need to, when we read the purports, we read the lines and then we read between the lines. So let's try to read between the lines. Through the help of senior devotees and Guru Maharaj, I have come to this between the lines point. Otherwise, I would have never noticed it. But so there's one more point from this purport, which is for our contemplation as sadhakas. Now, that point is when Sukdev Goswami had already concluded the chapter in verse 16 and 17. Why is the use of saying the next two verses, today's verse and especially today's verse? What is the need, right? After he mentioned the 17th verse, he noticed that Parikshit Maharaj has become a bit sad, as he is not related to the glorious dynasties where Rishabdev, Lord Ramchandra, Prithu Maharaj, Lord Krishna has been born. Sukdev Goswami immediately wanted to remedy the sadness of Parikshit Maharaj and immediately encouraged Parikshit Maharaj with this shloka, glorifying his ancestors and Lord's relationship with them. What does this tell us? It talks about Vaishnava dealings, how careful Sukhdev Goswami was for Parikshit Maharaj's feelings, that he should not feel sad, he should not feel hurt, right? So that's the last point from this purport, which is Vaishnava dealings, right? During the whole Bhagavatam, there are wonderful dealings between Sukhdev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, where you will get, just with the conversation they are having, you will find how beautifully Sukhdev Goswami is mentoring Parikshit Maharaj. Similarly, we have to be very careful with our dealings with Vaishnavas. I've just made the CPR. CPR is the oxygen provided when the person is dead. So our bhakti, if we lose taste or something, that's the oxygen. We need to look back and say, oh, did we use these things? We have to be careful, powerful, and respectful in our dealings with Vaishnavas. Careful of their feelings. How Sukhdev Goswami was careful that Parikshit Maharaj should not feel sad. We should learn from this interaction that any conversation we are having with devotees, if that conversation leave the devotee, by the end of the conversation, if that leave the devotee feeling sad, confused, angry, agitated, we should remedy that instantly. Even if we have to, in the situations where we have to chastise or correct a devotee, it should be done in a way that he understands his mistake, and he also understands that you are being his suhrat. You are telling it as a well-wisher. And with that knowledge, he'll become more enthusiastic to perform the devotional service. We have to be very careful about the feelings of Vaishnavas. Srila Prabhupada, always chastised in the same way. You see the stories and all this disciples of Srila Prabhupada, in one of the lectures, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj mentioned that we knew that Prabhupada is chastising us, but we all knew that how much he loved us. His words when he was chastising, we used to feel that he's loving us. That's why he's saying those things to us. It was nowhere an insult kind of feeling, or we never got agitated by his chastisement. Right? We need to learn from Srila Prabhupada how to deal with Vaishnavas. Powerful in terms of speaking from scriptures. When devotees are conversing, there are many times when some devotees want an answer to the question. Sometimes a question is asked by the devotees to get the answer what they want, not the right answer, not the answers as per scripture. Or you would see one devotee asking the same question to 6 to 7 other people, and the same 6 to 7 people would give the same answers sometimes, or sometimes different, but he would choose which is more preferable to his situation, and he'll adopt that we shouldn't be doing that. We should be giving, at every time we should be giving powerful advices directly from the scriptures. If someone say, what is the importance of Harinam, if you're not chanting it with your whole consciousness and dhyan say, then what's the importance of that? No, our Shastra says, Apanna samsritim ghoram yan nama vivasogranan tata sadhyo vimuchyeta yad bhibeti swayam bhayam. What does our Shastra says? That, these living beings, Srimad Bhagavatam says in first canto, first chapter itself, this verses, yad bhibeti swayam bhayam, that people who are entangled, samsritim ghoram, in this material world, people who are entangled, how will they get liberated? By vivasogranan, unknowingly, if they will just chant the names of the Lord, they will get liberated. They'll get freed from this complicated meshes of birth and death. Immediately, he says, right? Tata sadhyo vimuchyata. They'll be freed. And the verse mentions, yad bhibeti swayam bhayam, because the fear personified is fearful of that holy name. We should give very powerful response. We should not dilute the philosophy. We are not the ones to dilute and make our own philosophy from Prabhupada's purpose. We should just say what Prabhupada has said exactly. There are time, place, and circumstances where we have to say, and that comes the next point, which is respectful. Whatever we say, Satyam Priyam Hitam, right? We have to be respectful as well. It should be very pleasing to the ear. when you are saying the philosophy, you're taking care of the emotions of the person, you are saying the philosophy, but in a very respectful manner, right? In very respectful manner. Bhagavad Gita also mentions us, tad vidhi pranipatena. No problem, you ask questions. But pari prashnena sevaya, submissively render service, and then humbly ask the question. So we have to be very respectful towards our Vaishnavas, devotees whom we are dealing with. This reminds me of this analogy with His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhuji mentioned in our recently Vaishnava Sadachar training, right? There's this bhakti lata, that bhakti beej which is given by Guru. And if we put those water droplets, are 9 processes of bhakti, if we are doing the Shravan, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaran, if we are doing those, what happens? The seed will grow and the sun will shower its mercy, which is Vaishnava's mercy, he said. You can take it as Vaishnava's mercy. And Vaishnavas will always give mercy. Vaishnava's mercy will never stop. Even if you insult them, Vaishnavas will still give you mercy. Amrish Maharaj's pastime is a classic example of that. So water will be there because once normally devotees don't want to do offenses. Okay. One thing is, at least this should be very clear from our devotees don't want to do offenses. So normally when the Guru gives them initiation, they will do the 9 processes of bhakti sincerely. Okay. And the devotees will shower mercy on them as well. But the soil, that's what Gauranga Darshan Prabhuji mentioned. The soil is the Vaishnava dealings, Sadachar, Vaishnava qualities. He said, Vaishnava qualities, he mentioned. Vaishnava qualities, if we develop, then the seed will be fructifying nicely and quickly. So I really like this analogy, what he mentioned, and that fits very well with the dealings between Sukdev Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj, how he was always showering mercy, always making sure that he's giving the right advice and he's noticing whether Parikshit Maharaj is, he was not like, okay, this is Shastra, ABCD, he just A to Z, he just said, he didn't vomit it, he explained and in a way, and also at the same time he analyzed, he understood the student, he understood the person whom he is saying these details to. So we can take this point in our day-to-day life with Vaishnava dealings, right? So a quick recap, we discussed these 3 points, that liberation is attained very easily, however bhakti is very difficult to attain. The second point is where bhakti yoga is glorified by showing how Lord becomes ordinary servant to the Pandavas. And the third point is our CPR, Vaishnava dealings, right? So if we see the points from the purports of Srila Prabhupada are so powerful, right? Look, this which is going, that is Srila Prabhupada's purport. Just take them as Srila Prabhupada's purport. Sorry, but take them as Srila Prabhupada's purport, and we are driving the bike, okay, the bicycle. Bicycle will go at a particular speed. It cannot go after a particular speed, right? It will take its own speed. But Srila Prabhupada's purports are the truck which is driving fast. If we take shelter of Srila Prabhupada's purports, devotees, acharyas, senior devotees, acharyas, purports and understanding of the Shastras, our devotional service will go at the same speed. See how the person on the bike, he has just hold the back of the truck. Do you think now the cycle is going at its own speed? No, the cycle is going at the truck speed now, right? So let's take the benefit of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, his purports, his books, and progress in our devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandot Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
What a wonderful explanation of the text in this cool day of and also the winter day. It's so exciting. It's so exciting. The bloods are warming up, and this CPR is so important. Yet careful, powerful, and respectful ways of dealing the Vaishnava is the central point which encircles how Sukdev Goswami was feeling feelings the feeling of our Sukdev Goswami was feeling how the devotee was in the opposite side listening and what is his feeling. So this actually the indication, particularly as you mentioned, Gaurangadarshan Prabhu in his Vaishnav dealing explaining the same thing is very important. No matter how much you speak to the crowd, is
True.
that crowd is understanding what you are saying, where they can grab it, where they can understand it, how that they can digest is very, very important. No matter how much Shastra you speak to them, the most important is the digestion and the repercussion. That is why in our teacher's training course, it is obviously taught that how you interact. The interaction will tell us your understanding of the subject, your grasping of the situation, and your response. Those things are very, very important in dealing with the devotees. And we, of course, know the Lord is there to serve his devotee in every respect, whether in a menial service or uh, in a superposition. He is always there with the devotee. But how the devotee deals with the Lord is very important. And this is how this text is teaching us about the Vaishnav Sadachar. Is very, very important. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And we are actually very fortunate in Auckland, ISKCON Auckland. We have come across many devotees who are epitome of Vaishnava Sadachar, who knows how to deal with devotees. At least I am, and I hope I can't see, but I hope Surat Krishna Prabhuji is not there in the class. He'll feel embarrassed. But their family has, and not just me, I think many of you. They
Yeah.
have mentored us and they have nurtured us so well that we understand the values of Vaishnava Sadachar.
Yes. Very correct.
True.
Right information.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so if there are no questions or comments,
Krishna Bali, Dhanavad.
Dhanavad Pranam Prabhuji.
Thank you so much for unpacking this verse, some important verses, important points you mentioned. Yeah, I was really impressed that you mentioned that Sukadeva Goswami was so sensitive to see that the Parikshit Maharaj was disturbed. I mean, the devotees have to be very, very sensitive. Sometimes in our day-to-day affairs, we might take them very granted. So when some person is sensitive, they can feel behind that devotee what their feeling is. Somebody devotee might not bring out their emotions, but sometimes the back just by the expression they can. So sensitivity is very, very important. Thank you for bringing out this point, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Okay. So we'll end here. Vancha kalpadurubhisha
Pranam Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah, Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, Hare Hare Bol. All
Hare
gracious
Krishna.
devotees, Hare Krishna.
Krishna.